Hi, today I'm going to be talking about the special education process, assessment for referral, classification, placement, and programming. The special education process has 11 sections to it. The referral, data collection, evaluation plan, multidisciplinary evaluation team, role of the parent, evaluation process, classification eligibility, IEP development, placement and service determination process, program review, and mediation and due process. The initial phase in the evaluation procedure is the referral. It determines existence of the disability, the type and degree of disability, the specific education needs of the student with the disability, and is generally initiated by the classroom teacher, the student's parents or guardians, or in some cases both. I attached an example of a referral form. If I click on the link, it takes me to a website that I found called Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. It just has sample special education forms. If you scroll down a little bit, the first one I had looked at was the referral form, and it's just a form that kind of looks like one that's in our book. The next part of the process is the data collection. This part is learning all about the student. So you want to find out the history of school problems, if there are any, and if they have increased or if the intensity has increased. You want to find out the student's interests and special skills, if there are any medical or psychosocial issues, any personal or environmental factors, their academic achievement. You want to talk to their previous and current teacher and find out some information about the student. If you can, interview with the parents about what goes on at home, their home environment. Take a look at the student's school records, and then this is when you're going to observe the student and have personal interviews with the student as well. The next part is the evaluation plan. I want to talk about on pages 28 and 29 in our book, the assessment guidelines. So IDEA has assessment guidelines that we have to follow. So I suggest you take a look at them. It's quite a few, and make sure you're always meeting them. The evaluation plan specifies the methods of evaluation. So which tests, interviews, inventories, observations, and reviews will be done, and by which member of the IEP evaluation team. The next part of the process is the multidisciplinary evaluation team. This team involves one or both parents, the student when appropriate, the referral teacher, personnel who conducted the basic evaluation, school psychologist, social worker, educational diagnostician, and then this team will determine if the student is eligible for classification and which category is appropriate. The team will develop the educational plan, and they will also agree on appropriate placement and, if needed, related services. So this team is very important, and they need to make sure they're collaborating well and constantly having constant communication. The next part of the chapter the author talked about is the role of the parents. So the parents have a huge role, obviously, because it's their child that's being referred and looked at. So the parent consents to the IEP multidisciplinary team evaluation. They can provide input for the evaluation process. They can supply input from independent professional sources. They contribute to placement decision-making process. They participate in writing the program goals and objectives. They monitor progress, and they proceed with due process. The next part is the evaluation process. So IDEA mandates that a comprehensive and non-discriminatory evaluation be completed. So there has to be a variety of assessment tools. It can't just be a single assessment. There has to be a variety of them. And this is when you're going to do a psychological evaluation, look at the student's social history, if there was any academic intervention done, and a medical evaluation as well. The next part of the process is the classification eligibility. MDT, or also multidisciplinary team, I just shortened it, and parents discuss evaluation results, and they determine the student's classification eligibility. So this is when the MDT writes a classification conference report. And on this report is their eligibility decision, and also there's a signature at the bottom that is needed by the parents' permission, just so they're verifying consent and they're agreeing to all of this. In some cases, parents may disagree. That can happen. If that does happen, they have the right to obtain an independent educational evaluator, or IEE for short. The next part is the IEP development. So the IEP has a team, and that team consists of one or both parents and guardians, at least one regular education teacher, the special education teacher, and any other participants, so counselors, specialists, etc. So maybe like OT, PT, speech, they're always involved on the team as well. The IEP itself must contain a PLEP, which is present level of educational performance, measurable goals, evaluation procedures and schedule, services that the student might need, any accommodations, the date for beginning of services, and any transition planning, whether it is transitioning out of high school to adult life or any other types of situations. And the next part talks about the placement and service determination process. So the placement is always based on the student's individual needs, skills, and abilities. That's very important because we have to focus on the student. The student with disability must be placed in the LRE, which is the least restrictive environment. Students may also receive other supportive services, like I mentioned before, OT, PT, speech, anything else. Also during this process, student may receive AT devices or assistive technology devices, and those need to be included in the IEP as well. Program review. So the program review is a monitoring system. It remains appropriate for the student, and we have to make sure that the goals and objectives are still being met. Annual review. This is the initial phase in the evaluation process, and this is to determine if annual goals are being addressed. The IEP is revised to address any lack of expected progress, if there was any results of any reevaluation that had been done on the student, the child's anticipated needs, and any other matters that may have occurred. The reevaluation is a little bit different than the annual review. This is something that happens at least once every 3 years. It can happen before the 3 years if there are any concerns of slow or lack of progress and feel the need of program goals to be revised. So the parent could request an early reevaluation, or even any of the teachers that are working with the student. And the last part of the process is mediation and due process. So mediation is when the parents meet with school personnel to discuss their concerns. So a mediator tries to help both parties either compromise or agree on a way to resolve the issue. And if there's no resolution is reached, a court case evolves. So this is what happens when the parents are disagreeing with what the school is recommending. Another part is due process, and this is just to protect the parents' rights to have input into their child's educational program and to take steps to resolve any disagreements. So this normally happens when the parents feel that the school district is not acting in their child's best interest. This is the last part of it. So as you can see, there's 11 sections to the educational process, and that was talking about assessment for referral, classification, placement, and programming.